Take a slow breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Welcome to a quieter corner of the American West. Nothing cinematic, no thunder of hooves, just a sleepy main street and a ribbon of dust that never quite settles. If you like your history, calm, cozy, and just boring enough to drift off to, you're in the right place. Before we step into the sunlight, go ahead and make yourself comfortable. And if you'd like more slow, human-written history to fall asleep to, gently tap subscribe and leave a soft little howdy in the comments. It helps more than you think. The sun is only a pale coin on the horizon, but the day is already older than you are. In the West, mornings start long before daylight. A rooster you'll never see has been practicing his scales for an hour. A dog you'll never pet has just given up growling at a tumbleweed. In this frontier town, doors don't slam, they sigh. Hinges talk in long vowels. And the street? The street is made of powdered time. Hoofprints sketched into dust, wagon ruts pressed into memory. You can almost hear yesterday, still thinking things over. Step out of the lean-to where you slept, or the boarding house if you were lucky. The bed, such as it was, felt like 3 planks and a grudge. The blanket kept you warm, but also kept last night's wood smoke. Your shirt is wool, because everybody's shirt is wool. It rubs your neck the way a bad idea rubs a conscience. Your boots are stiff with the kind of honesty leather believes in. And the air is dry like a whispered secret. You taste it before you breathe it. This is the first problem. Water. Not the clean, silent water you pour without thinking. Not the water that waits in your tap like a polite servant. This water is earned. Someone drew it from a well with a rope older than the town itself, then carried it in a bucket that remembers every step. It's faintly metallic. It teases your tongue with yesterday's dust and leaves. You'll sip it anyway, because thirst is the law out here, and laws don't negotiate. If you forget to drink steadily, the day will press its thumb into your forehead by noon, and behind your eyes, a little drummer will begin. You will notice the quiet, but it isn't real quiet. It's the kind that stacks itself in layers. Somewhere a blacksmith wakes the anvil with 2 gentle taps that sound like coins deciding their fate. A mule resigns itself to being a mule again. The hotel's dining room, calling it a hotel, is a kind of optimism. Serves coffee that tastes like an argument between beans and water where both sides lost. You cradle the cup because it's warm and because your hands want something to agree with. Breakfast is simple. Yesterday's bread if there's any left. Maybe a heel of bacon that has traveled too far and seen too much salt. You chew slowly. There is nothing to hurry for, and a great deal that will hurry you if you let it. You think of the day ahead, the way you think of a tall set of stairs. The town is short on almost everything except chores. There are fences that need to believe in themselves again. There are tools that need oil, not because they will break, but because they remember breaking before. If you're passing through, you might look for work. Work is what the West calls anything that isn't sleeping. A man on the porch says the livery needs a hand. He says it without looking at you, the way people talk to weather. The livery is where horses learn what patience tastes like. You nod. Not because you know horses, because you know thirst. Here's the second problem. The sun is not your friend. It doesn't climb. It stalks. It starts gentle, like a kind uncle who turns into a drill sergeant by 10. The brim of your hat, if you have one, becomes your only politics. You will angle it left, then right, the way sailors trim a sail, chasing a patch of mercy across your face. Shade is currency. People trade for it with posture. Men on porches tilt in the same direction like grass in a slow wind. You will try to walk like you belong. Towns can smell doubt the way coyotes smell bacon. Your stride will want to be fast, because your century trained it to be. But the dust will have its say. It curls around your ankles, then the cuffs of your pants, then your better intentions. Your body will remember to slow down, not as a favor to you, but as tribute to the street. Every few steps you'll feel little pebbles negotiating with your boot soles. This is where shoes tell the truth. They either fit, or the town will teach them how to. A woman sweeps a stoop with the stiff patience of someone who learned long ago that dust is not an opponent. It's a roommate. She is sweeping against history itself, and she knows it, and she does it anyway. The broom speaks in dry whispers. Across the way, a boy carries a bucket that is somehow both too empty to be heavy and too heavy to be empty. He glances at you because you are new. Newness is a sound the town can hear even when you hold your breath. Third problem: supplies. The general store is a small cathedral to the idea of maybe. Shelves hold the West's sacred trinity: flour, salt, and hope. Tin cups nest inside one another like tired birds. You run a finger along a coil of rope that looks like it has opinions. Prices don't shock you, the distance does. Everything here has traveled, by wagon, by rail, by luck, and the cost whispers about every mile. You think about buying a canteen. Your throat votes yes, your coins vote number. Out here, budgeting isn't numbers, it's hydration strategy. And then there is the matter of medicine, which is to say, there isn't much. A bottle promises relief the way posters promise miracles. The label smiles with confidence, a century too soon. You think about headaches, sore feet, the way a splinter becomes a legend if you ignore it. You realize something simple and heavy. Surviving isn't a test you ace with cleverness. It's a series of small, unglamorous negotiations with discomfort, every hour on the hour. You step back into the street, and the breeze lifts a little dust just to see if you're paying attention. Across town, somebody laughs the way a gate opens. Another person coughs like an old house. You pass the telegraph office, where news travels in dots and dashes, tiny footsteps across a wire. The operator has the calm of someone who lives between sentences. He looks at you, then at the instrument, then back at you, as if to say, "Welcome to the place where news arrives faster than help." You begin to feel the math of the West settle on your shoulders. This town runs on labor the way a clock runs on springs. The jobs that matter, hauling, mending, feeding, fetching, are the ones the movies hurry past. Your hands itch for a task, not because you love work, but because idleness is expensive. A day without wages here is like a wagon with one wheel. Things still move, but every inch complains. And then, because the morning has a sense of humor, a distant bell rings from somewhere behind the hotel, soft and almost shy. It's the cook announcing breakfast to the workers who pretend they didn't already smell it. The bell is a promise and a dare. You follow it. Inside, the room is warm with stoves and the quiet democracy of hunger. Men and women sit at long tables, elbows learning to be neighbors. The plates arrive with the confidence of the inevitable. Eggs, if the hens were feeling philosophical. Beans, because beans always show up. Coffee, because mercy sometimes does. You eat without conversation. Words are for later. Forks clink. Steam climbs lazily and then changes its mind. Nobody looks at the clock because there isn't one. Time here is measured by chores completed and shadows relocated. You take another sip of coffee and instantly regret it. The bitterness says, "Welcome." You answer by finishing the cup. That's how diplomacy works out here. If you're still awake, and it's perfectly fine if you aren't, this is your gentle reminder to like the video if the slow pace is helping you unwind. Drop a comment with the word canteen so I know you were here for the quiet part of the morning. And if your eyes are getting heavy, don't fight it. Let the day unfold while you rest. Outside again, the sun has decided it is the main character. It paints everything a couple of shades brighter than you remember. The street goes on pretending not to be surprised by anything. A wagon creaks past with the patience of geology. The driver tips his hat. At you, at the day, at the idea of endurance. It's all the same out here. Look down at your hands. They already look busier than they were an hour ago. The skin at your knuckles feels like it's planning ahead. You roll your shoulders and they answer with a small inventory of aches. Welcome to the West's morning routine. You are a list of tiny repairs waiting to be made. The miracle is that you make them, one by dusty one. And this is why most of us wouldn't last a day. Not because of gunfights or outlaws, but because survival here is a choreography of small, steady decisions. Drink now, shade later, mend first. Boast never. It's not dramatic. It's drudgery with sunlight. It's patience where patience is not optional. It's good enough, elevated to a virtue. The West doesn't test your courage at high noon. It quizzes your discipline at 8:15 a.m. with a dull pencil and no eraser. We'll stop here at the edge of town where the morning ends and the day begins. If you'd like the next section, where we step beyond Main Street to the prairie and the horizon widens until you can hear it, make sure you're subscribed. For now, let your breathing slow, let the dust settle, and let the West keep watch while you drift. Let your shoulders drop. Unclench your jaw. If Section 1 was the town yawning awake, this is where we step past the last porch and into the wide, whispering in-between. Miles of prairie stitched together by nothing but wind and the steady scrape of your boots. If slow history helps you drift, settle in. And if you want more long, human-written chapters like this, tap subscribe now and drop a soft sagebrush in the comments so I know you rode this far with me. The ground beyond Main Street is not a road so much as a rumor of 1, 2 pale tracks keeping each other company. You take them because people before you took them, and because the horizon does the oldest magic trick there is. It looks close until you start walking. Every step makes the horizon politely step back. You aren't chasing it, it's teasing you. At first the air feels honest, dry, a little cool, like a clean sheet. 10 minutes later, it decides to be something else. The sun introduces itself as a fact you can't edit. It doesn't glare, it persuades slowly in all directions. Your hat brim becomes a traveling argument with the sky, and you keep losing. Light sneaks in from the edges, from beneath the brim, bouncing off the pale grass, climbing your sleeves. Your shirt, already a negotiation in wool, turns from clothing into homework. You drink without drama, without the bother of thirst's permission. Out here, water isn't refreshing, it's bookkeeping. A swallow every 15 minutes. Not enough to feel satisfied, just enough to keep the music in your head from turning into drum beats. The canteen is heavier than you'd like and lighter than you need, which is the paradox of almost everything on the prairie. Ahead, a cottonwood leans toward a bend in a creek, so thin it seems embarrassed to be seen at noon. The tree hums with insects, small bodies broadcasting tiny chores. You rest under it, not because you're tired, though you are, but because shade is the West's only polite lie. It says, stay, when the day insists, go. You listen to both and choose the shade, just long enough to notice the way the grass sounds when it argues with itself. Grasshoppers flick from blade to blade like ideas you can't quite keep. If you were raised by roads and street signs, this part of the day steals your compass. There is no north, not the way you're used to. There are landmarks, a rock that thinks it's a monument, a distant rise that pretends to be a hill, a fence line that starts, stops, and changes its mind. You measure distance with your legs and time with your shadow, and both keep slightly different accounts. Every hour you re-add the same numbers, as if survival is a math problem graded by heat. Somewhere to your right, a prairie dog village pops and vanishes. Brown commas in a sentence the land is still writing. A hawk makes a circle so smooth it could be traced with a bowl. You hear the faint iron song of a horseshoe long before you see the rider, and when he finally appears he's already passing through the next part of your afternoon. He nods like a priest blessing your decision to keep moving. Out here, eye contact is a handshake with the day itself. Midday work is invisible from a distance and enormous up close. You find a fence that needs convincing. One post leans like an old friend at a doorway. Another has lost its patience entirely. You learn the slow ritual. Lift, tamp, straighten, tamp again. Wire that looked obedient turns springy and opinionated, biting the heel of your glove just to remind you who can draw blood faster. It's not a fight. It's a conversation with prickly grammar. You step back and the line looks truer. Not perfect. Nothing out here is, but truer. That's enough to buy another hour. Lunch is not a meal. It's an intermission. A heel of bread that has lived through several mornings. A pinch of salt that makes the bread remember its food. Maybe a sliver of bacon that tastes like all the places it has been salted against. You choose slowly, not out of romance, but engineering. The body wants fuel. The day wants proof. When the coffee tin shows up, it pours something that is equal parts caffeine and apology. You accept both. If you're still awake, hello. If you're halfway asleep, good. That's what this is for. The quiet grows louder until you realize it has sections. There's the hush of heat, the insect hiss, the low animal yodel of wind across a dry creek bed, the small rattling poetry of your canteen when it's down to the last third. You listen not because you're a poet, but because the land teaches you by sound first. A change in the breeze means the weather has had a thought. The sudden stillness means it's editing that thought. A long, thin cloud raises an eyebrow. The sky is a teacher who never lifts her voice. She just waits. You keep walking. You try to remember to look down so you don't meet a snake by surprise, and you try to remember to look up so you don't walk straight into the sun's slow interrogation. Time turns syrupy. Your thoughts simplify, then spread out like laundry on a line. Left foot, right foot, sip. You hum a tune you don't like because it has the right number of steps in it. When you stop, your shadow stops a beat later, like a stubborn dog. You smile at that. Nobody sees it. The prairie has a way of letting your private jokes breathe without echo. Half a mile on, you find the creek again where it pretends to be generous, a pocket of green stitched tight around it. Cattails like exclamation points, mud that looks innocent but shakes hands like wet glue. You kneel and wet the bandana you've been ignoring, lay it across the back of your neck. Cool finds you the way truth does, plainly, without adjectives. You think, for no reason, of a porch in the town behind you. You think of how far you've come, and how, in the West's arithmetic, far and not yet can be the same number. This is the part of the day that breaks most modern travelers, the long middle, where nothing announces itself, but everything matters. No stampede, no shootout, no sudden heroics. Just carrying, mending, fetching, checking, walking, checking again. You learn to love lists because lists love you back. They give you little doors to open. Gate latch, tighten, canteen, sip, bootlace, retie, shade, find soon. Each small door opens onto a smaller room with one chair in it, and you sit just long enough to stand again. The wind shifts, and with it comes a smell both clean and animal. Sun-warmed hide, crushed sage, dry earth thinking about rain. You realize there are cattle on the far side of a fold in the land. The way you realize a neighbor is home when the lights under their door go warm. A pair of figures move slow, with purpose behind them. Riders with the kind of patience cities don't teach. You are not part of their day, but your steps have been added to the huge ledger of their work anyway. Everybody's miles count out here. Your boots have a conversation with your feet just after noon. It isn't pleasant. They negotiate a truce based on future promises. Tonight we'll dry you by the fire. Tonight we'll loosen the laces early. Tonight the socks will be softer. Feet have long memories and short tempers. They agree, but they'll bring it up again later. Blisters are tiny biographies. Each one remembers a decision you made when you were thinking about something else. You try to read the clouds like sentences. The long, thin ones say, later. The towers say soon. Somewhere, hours from here, a storm rehearses. You feel none of its drama, only its thesis. Evenings change faster than mornings. You file it away with the rest of the West's instructions, a thick binder you carry behind your eyes. By mid-afternoon, the prairie's light goes white at the edges, like paper held too close to a lamp. You shorten your gaze to the next 100 yards and discover this trick. When you make the world smaller, the work gets done faster. You focus on the next fence corner, the next dip where shade might be, the next place the creek pretends again. The horizon, insulted, keeps its distance. Let it. And then, because the day is not a bully, mercy arrives in the smallest possible box. A breeze that learned kindness. It slips under your hat and lifts one corner like a note passed in class. The world cools half a degree, which is the same as a hymn out here. Your spine unwinds one vertebra at a time. You find a flat rock and sit, and the rock says, in its rock way, I was waiting. If your eyes are heavy, go with it. If you're still listening, here's your quiet call to action. Like this chapter if it soothed you, and in the comments write, canteen half full. That little phrase helps me find the folks who walk the quiet miles with me. And if you know someone who needs a boring history to fall asleep to, share this with them like you'd share a patch of shade. We'll leave this section right here, with the afternoon about to lean toward evening, when shadows finally remember who they are, and the sky starts practicing colours you forgot the names for. In Section 3, we'll learn how the long late-day chores stack up. The cooking, the mending, the watch you keep even while your bones beg for a chair, and why the last light is both beautiful and tricky. For now, let your breath settle, your eyelids float, and your thoughts step down from the saddle. The land will keep an eye on the horizon while you rest.